I got to a point where I was just tired of showing up like this. The person who was always on go, 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 always doing, always performing, always on. The professional perfectionist. And I just got to a point where I didn't know how to be any other way. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video, because you get to a point that when you've done something for so long and you've behaved a certain way for so long, it's no longer a choice. And I want to talk about what it looks like to actually choose to stop performing, to stop trying to be the perfectionist, even after you've been doing it for many, many, many years. I call myself a perfectionist in recovery because I think it's something for me that I'm gonna always have to check because it was so deeply ingrained in me, especially being the oldest daughter, being an overachiever, all of the things. And it's something that I constantly have to check in with, but I have made a world of change and no longer being that way. And that's what I want to talk about. The version of me who knew how to show up, knew how to be polished, knew how to perform, knew how to always be aware and vigilant, and just this perfect professional for sure. But of course, even that type of behavior and patterns spills over into your personal life as well. And me showing up that way worked. It worked for many, many, many years. And as a child, I was rewarded for it. And even in my corporate career, you're rewarded for showing up that way. So being that constant, perfect person, it worked for me, but it required me to always be clocked in. And you know what I mean by clocked in? It required me to always be clocked in, and it costed me so much. In addition to other things, I feel like that was one of the pressures or the components or the elements that led to my burnout as well. Because when you're trying to be that way 24/7, oh, is it exhausting? And if you can relate to this, you know that it's exhausting as well. It, I wasn't just in my corporate career, when I was moving this way, excelling, achieving, moving the business forward, leading a large team, I wasn't just doing those things. I was also managing how I came across, managing how I sounded, managing how I was perceived. And I feel like for Black women, that runs even deeper. But for women in general, especially when you get to a certain position or if you're in a certain industry, you're constantly aware of those things. And it's all performance, it's all performing, and it's incredibly exhausting. At least it was for me, just always kind of not being able to be yourself. And if you're honest with yourself, maybe not even knowing who you are anymore because you've spent so many years performing this act. And that was me for many years. It was me. And I've shared before that I feel like this was an element to my burnout. A lot of things were, but this was as well, because I wasn't just working, I wasn't just doing the job. I wasn't just, checking off all the boxes of my job description and the type of leader that I wanted to be. I was carrying this performing perfectionist version of me every single day throughout the day, I was carrying a lot in addition to the workload. And I just got to a point where I didn't want to do that anymore. And I always feel like I tried to balance it with, having to be polished and put together and, buttoned up, with trying to like be myself, which is, very relaxed, laid back, reserved, which I was still all of those things. But the reason why I say it, sometimes I felt like I would try to balance it because there would be certain colleagues or certain team members where I felt like I could slightly remove the mask or the performance from time to time. And that was also like a balancing act. It was just a lot to try to maintain this image of perfection when we know, even if we just know intellectually, that perfection does not exist. But there are so many of us still out there trying to strive and be it. There was only one perfect man, and that was Jesus Christ. And we saw what they did to him. But I think it's, again, a conversation that I wanted to talk about around this performance of trying to be perfect. And I feel like that's the part that people don't talk about a lot when that's all when all or it's played such a big part of your life, and it's hard to break a loose from that identity because that's really all that you know. And if you've ever felt like you're that person that always has to be, clocked in or always on, like you can't be who you are without thinking about how you're perceived or how you come across to other people. I'm sure you felt this too. And as I'm just talking and more like memories are just coming back to me in real time, just even like from my elementary school days and my middle school days, high school days, young adulthood, like just trying to be this perfect representation of a woman, a Black woman, a good girl, and doing it, you do it well, it becomes who you are, and the person deep down inside of you sometimes gets trapped away. Of course, she's always there, but you have to really work hard to pull her back up and back out and be able to completely remove that mask of perfection away. And for me, it looked like choosing differently. It looked like not trying to overperform, not trying to over explain, and not trying to impress. And again, I didn't really come to a lot of these realizations until I burnt out, left my corporate 6-figure job and took my sabbatical. My sabbatical was such a transformative time for me. Like I said, although I spent all my savings during my sabbatical, and I'm still in a season where I'm rebuilding my finances in addition to redesigning my life, I would do it again because that period of time, I needed that for myself. I needed that as a chance of rediscovery, of healing, of growth, to be able to really dig deep and get clear on the woman that I truly wanted to be, and then make steps towards making that happen. Small intentional steps, and it all worked for my good. Everything worked for my good. Even the burnout that pushed me into the sabbatical, it worked out for my good. And I knew that I could not, using my sabbatical kind of like this, almost like a hibernation period. I knew that when I was ready to go back to work, back into corporate America, and to really step into redesigning my life, that I could no longer be that woman that I was before, trying to be perfect in everything. And during my sabbatical too, I took just a lot of time to think. And I had some of these realizations while I was doing the work. It was just so much going on that I really didn't sit in it long enough to make any real change. But if you're watching this video and you identify as ambitious or driven, a go-getter, you knew you were doing the work. You knew you were, I'm trying to say this right. Your level of work is oftentimes well above what others are doing. So I had to kind of say to myself, why am I doing all this? My 60% was other people's 100%. So my 100% would just be doing too much. So I just really, and that's some of the things that I had to wrestle with and get clear on during my sabbatical, just to kind of release some of that perfectionism, release always trying to perform, and really just get comfortable with showing up who I am fully. And I'm still, I've been redesigning, rebuilding my life for 4 years now, and I'm still doing that. I'm building a very intentional business where I'm trying to create something that is impactful, adds value, and is in alignment with the way I want to work and live, not just creating another job for myself. I'm really being very intentional about every brick I lay, metaphorically, every brick that I lay and building the business with the type of offers that I put into the public, with the type of clients that I choose to work with. I'm being very intentional about that and making sure that it is genuinely, authentically me, the way I'm showing up here on YouTube every single day. I am not performing, and I know that it has felt some of the best comments. So many comments, especially after my video went viral, was just about women saying, you make me want to just be myself. You are such being yourself. And it is, because I've just gotten to the age now where I'm like, girl, I am too old. Girl, I am too old to be performing, to just not be showing up in a way that feels like me. And that's working. That's the best feeling, as well, as when you stop the performing, when you stop trying to be perfect and people see it, they receive it, it lands, and you're like, oh, that's why was I doing all of that other stuff before? Why was I doing it? And for me, again, I just started to choose differently, and not some overnight miraculous change, but taking small intentional changes. And one of the bigger changes for me, as I've said before, is I had to remove myself from that environment, my career, my job. I had to remove myself from that to be able to get clear on how I wanted to live, how I wanted to show up. For me, I felt like if I would have stayed in that environment, I definitely I wouldn't be the woman I am today if I would have stayed there. I knew for me, that's what I had to do. And again, my sabbatical led me to reconnecting with myself, to learning more about myself, to getting clear on how I wanted to work and live. And again, that was the best, the best time of my life, the most transformative time of my life, the most joyous time of my life. It was really good. And I go into great detail about just my entire sabbatical experience in my book, Release and Renew. And that was choosing different for me. Moving away, quitting my corporate career job, that was choosing different for me. You know, taking this time off for myself, these 10 months, almost a year, that was choosing different for me, even when other people did not understand it, because girl, the people tore me up. The people, the people questioned everything I was doing, but I still chose to do it. And I knew this would happen. I knew like I would get judged and people would question me. That's why when I left my job, well, first of all, it was already happening when my colleagues found out that I would be leaving, and they just didn't get it, which I don't have nothing to prove to those people. But as far as my family, I only told my mom and my best friend that I was leaving my job and not immediately going back to another job. Like I was going to take some extended time off. I did not even tell my dad till I was 6 months until my sabbatical, because I just knew that they wouldn't understand. And even 6 months into my sabbatical, when kind of the rest of my family kind of found out, they were still kind of looking at me sideways, kind of like, what is she doing? Blah, blah, blah. My dad got it. He still, you know, as a man, sometimes I feel like, especially older man, my dad is nearly 70 years old now. And that was, you know, over 5 or so years ago. But yeah, I only told a few people, because when you start to choose differently in a big change like that, people don't get it. People don't understand why, but I still had to choose that for myself. And again, I would do it again because it paid off. Now, I want to be clear, it wasn't easy. It still took a level of work. It definitely took a level of awareness, and it took a level of being ready. Like I had to be ready. I was ready, and I did it, because no one can force you into changing. No one can motivate you or inspire you into changing. Yes, you can see examples. You can see possibility models. I hope I can be a possibility model to people. You can see what other people are doing to maybe to see, yes, it is possible. But it takes you being ready to make the shift, to make the move, to make the pivot. You have to be, like my grandma used to say, sick and tired of being sick and tired. You got to be sick of yourself. You just have to be ready to make that change. And this is where a lot of people stay, because they're not ready to stop the performing, because the performing feels more familiar. It feels more safe. You know how to show up performing. You know how to move when you're performing. And if you're honest, you probably feel like that's really not you anymore. And that's the hard part, because you also don't know what comes next. And I know as we make changes in life, we always want guarantees. We want the perfect ending to be laid out to us. And you know, that's just not how things go. And you also know that just, you know, looking at YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, reading books, while those things help, like I said, seeing other people who changed their lives, like me and other people that can help, but it really takes you being ready. I've linked the ambition reset down in the description box if that's something that you're interested in. Me in your ear, calling out those blind spots that keep you stuck in that exhaustion loop, in that performance loop, and giving you that internal shift that you need to move forward. Because I think that if you're not ready, you'll just continue to choose that version of yourself that you know you've outgrown. I knew that I had come to a point that I had outgrown it. So during my sabbatical, I really used that time to get clear on this isn't what I want. This isn't how I want to live. This isn't how I want to work. I was ready for it, and I made I made the decision to make the change, figuring it out step by step on my own. Oftentimes, of course, I had my therapist, I hired a few coaches, but it really does require you getting honest with yourself, saying, I don't want to show up like this anymore. I'm tired of performing. I'm tired of trying to be perfect all the time. And I'm ready for something different. And I don't think me not having that identity of perfect Erica, it doesn't mean that I'm less of a person. I think it means that I'm showing up more me, more authentic. And again, like I said, you see it, other people have seen it, they've commented on just how myself I'm being. And that's a real compliment to me, because you really don't know me, but you can feel that I'm just, being myself. And that means a lot to me to, not to step back into that performance mindset, and definitely not to step back in that perfectionism mindset, because what works is being yourself. The right people will see it. The right people will notice it. You'll feel better internally as you walk out your journey of life. And only you can be you. Other people are taken. So you might as well just be yourself. If you've missed any of the other conversations that I've had on this 100-day journey, today is day 81. Woo, 19 more days to go. I've linked the playlist for these 100 days of conversations down in the description box. There are so many other things that I want to talk about too, but I don't know. Some things I just don't want to say here on the internet for everybody to see. Some stuff I just want to keep for you, the woman who is like, okay, Erica, you talking the talk that I want to know more about. So I don't know. I'm thinking about something. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what it will look like, but there's just so many other things that I want to just say. If you know what I mean, just say it. But I don't want to just say it to the internet. I want to keep that for just women who are ready to receive it. But I don't know. I'm going to think some more on it. Give this video a like. Let me know if any of this resonated with you. I'm Erica Prevail. I share daily conversations helping ambitious women rework their relationship with ambition, capacity, rest, and creativity. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.